Thank you. Tonight is an exciting night, I know, for 5 individuals who are very deserving to be inducted with this honor. Before we get into the program, I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to say some thank yous. First, I'd like to say some thank yous to our athletic staff. We are blessed with over 400 athletes this year, 423 to be exact, 27 sports, and it takes a lot of people to do that. A lot of my staff is gone with teams right now, but those who are here who I'd like to recognize: Lee Oakley, Justin Sweeney, and Neil Settle. So if you give them a round of applause for their help. I'd also like to recognize 2 of our coaches that are here, and I believe 2 of the best in the country, and that is Julie Falks, our women's basketball senior women's administrator, and Brian Lane, our men's basketball and golf coach. Also, a big thank you to Selma's for the great food tonight, so thank you all for that. Also want to thank our alumni office and Natasha Manjardo for her help, so thank you all. Also tonight, just want to take the opportunity, we have a Pioneer Club Advisory Council. Those individuals are help us to come up with the nominations and do the voting process. I want to thank them for their work. First, I would introduce those who are unable to attend and those who are still out on the road somewhere. But Al Grash, Collier Mills, Pat Deacon, and Greg Turcott. I would ask the following members to stand to be recognized as their name is read. Sherry Holly, a Transy alumni, class of '88, and Hall of Famer, lettered in field hockey, basketball, and softball. You would think I could get Holly right, wouldn't you? I know, so close. Don Lane, 26-year career head basketball coach at Transy, 41 years on faculty and 20 years as the athletic director and Hall of Fame member. Some members of our Transy staff who are here tonight: Megan Maloney, she's our VP for Marketing and Communications. Marty Smith, our VP for Alumni and Development. We're also blessed to have a few Hall of Famers with us tonight. They have built the legacy as the people who are with us tonight who are being inducted. I would ask that they please stand to be recognized. Daniel Swindowski, class of '94, inducted in 2011 for basketball. Sherry Holly, Daniel hasn't made it yet, I didn't know if he's stuck in. Sherry Holly, class of '88, inducted in 2002, field hockey, basketball, softball. And Don Lane, inducted in 2002, basketball coach. Also, would like to have Emily Stewart stand. Her husband could not join us, John Mark Stewart, but he was inducted in the class of '95, inducted in 2015 for basketball. As we prepare to induct these 5, I noted something special about these 5 when I was sharing with Chris that I was looking through media guides earlier this week and noting how similar some of you all look to now. But the one thing that I noted as I went back and read the letters of support from your classmates, your coaches, and your teammates, something stood out about all of you all. And this is what it is, that each one of you all cared more about your team's success than you did your own. So it's interesting that you're being inducted, and that was your kind of motto. As stated by Jackie Robinson, a life is not important except in the impact it has on the lives of others. And it's interesting that all 5 of you have lived that out. So congratulations, and we look forward to get started with the ceremony.
With this year's Hall of Fame ceremony, we are inducting 5 new notable alumni of Transylvania University, 3 individuals and 1 team. For tonight's ceremonies, we have asked several individuals to introduce our candidates and offer personal insights into the lives and character of each inductee. First, we will be inducting a tennis doubles team and 1969 Transylvania graduates, Bill Duty and John Mack. Bill and John played on the Transylvania tennis doubles team from 1966 through 1969. They were coached by Ray Ware. The Transylvania tennis team during their 4 years compiled a record of 41 wins and 11 losses, and much of this success was due to the tandem of Bill and John. The two of them combined for a 25-3 record over their final 2 years here at Transylvania. Here tonight to introduce Bill and John is Skip Redman, a Transylvania alumnus and classmate. Skip played golf for 2 years at Transylvania, as well as served as basketball manager for 2 years and SID for 1 year. Please join me now in welcoming Skip to the stage.
Thank you, and thank you for the committee considering John and Bill for this honor. It's been an ongoing process of the class of '69 for the last 6 or 8 years. We recognize what John and Bill have done. I have permission from Natasha to call this event the first event of the 50th reunion class of 1969. Dr. Carey, we hope that you will visit with us a lot next spring and be part of our 50th anniversary. Jim Hurley, the person who integrated the athletic program at Transylvania, class of '69, All-American Hall of Fame member. We had a lot of input into this process. Transy was transitioning from NAIA to Division III NCAA. They played in the Kentucky Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, which had been founded in 1926. Brian, the coaches at Transylvania had to contend with a charter class in the KIAC of the University of Louisville, Eastern, Western, Moorhead, Murray, Transy, Center, and Kentucky Wesleyan. Union College joined in 1933, and I think Don Lane was probably on one of their first teams back then. But as I say, we transitioned into Division III. John and Bill qualified for the NCAA tournament as seniors in 1969. That's a hard thing to do, to qualify as individuals or a team that's part of a larger team. Whit Criswell in our class also qualified that year as an individual golfer. None of the three got to participate in the national championships. Money was a factor. It would have cost about $750 to send the three of them to compete as the first NCAA representatives of Transylvania, but the powers that be decided that the money was just not there. Bill is originally from Winchester, Kentucky, now lives in Marietta, Georgia. John from Palmyra, New Jersey, still lives in that area, coached for 41 years in the public and private schools, sent a lot of players on to play collegiate tennis, including players at the Division I level. Our classmate Harvey Ross said that Bill and John playing tennis together was the greatest thing since the Civil War ended. A KA from Winchester, Kentucky, and a Delta Sig from Palmyra, New Jersey. Mike Toncray, who played with them their senior year, talks about the number of people that showed up to watch the matches. I think it was probably the short shorts that were in vogue with tennis and basketball players at that time, but these guys were good. They played all comers. They beat Division I opponents. They played the top Division III schools, a lot of them from the state of Ohio. They say it was because the weather got a little bit better here a couple of weeks before it got good in northern Ohio. The Ohio teams would go to Florida for spring break. They'd stop and play Transy, get their butts thumped, and realize how far they had to go to be good that year. They're going to introduce their families, and I'm sure they have a lot of stories that they will tell about their playing days, but I'd like to end with reading part of what their coach had to say about them in his letter of recommendation. Dr. Ware coached for 5 years, and John and Bill both met with him today. He was not able to attend tonight, but had a good meeting with them. Dr. Ware said, "I do think they were the best players during the 5 years that I coached the team. They were also two of the nicest, most personable young men that I coached. They were of outstanding character and represented Transylvania in the best possible manner wherever we played. They were also outstanding tennis players. They were very competitive, but displayed the finest sportsmanship in every match. We played a tough schedule that included Ohio Wesleyan, Denison, Xavier, Ohio, Bellarmine, Center, Eastern Kentucky. I suspect that many of the losses were to Division I opponents. In conclusion, I'm happy to recommend that Bill and John be inducted into the Transylvania Sports Hall of Fame. And I'm honored that they asked me to present them. And with that, I'd ask that they come up to receive the awards. They put us on first because, as you can see, we're getting a little bit older and it's pushing bedtime.
Thank you. It's great to be back in Lexington. I'm mostly a lifelong New Jerseyite, and I come here every once in a while. And 3 years I came here, and our dormitories were gone. They just vanished. And now I'm here, and I hear Ford Hall is on the way out. I had several thousand of the greatest meals of my life in Ford Hall. Really, it was so. 2018 has been a great year. Started out with my Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl. That is my brother, Jeff, and my wife, Lynn, the only Eagles fans here besides me. But that was February. In April, I became a grandfather for the first time. That was just a blessing. I recommend grandfatherhood to everybody. Skip the parenting. Go straight to grandparenting. It's so much nicer and so much cheaper, particularly with what college costs these days. So the year continued. In August, Lynn and I celebrated our 46th wedding anniversary, and having a grandchild now, after all these years, it's been wonderful. And now, here it is October, and being inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I really appreciate that. I'd like to thank the university for this honor, and Coach Ware, who Bill and I met with today. It was just a wonderful meeting. He's very sharp and remembered things we didn't remember. That probably says something about us, right? And I tried to catch up with the current Kevin, the current coach, but he was just leaving for Indiana when I came on campus on Friday, so I missed that. But being here was such a great part of my life in tennis. I continued. I taught history for 42 years. I coached every one of those years, sometimes women and men's. And I taught at in different racket clubs, and gave up the game 10 years ago. But I'm still feeling positive about everything that happened, particularly here in Lexington and at Transylvania. So thank you very much.
Good, John. We did have a nice meeting today with Dr. Ware, and it was good to see him. I know when we came here is in 1965 as freshmen, and Dr. Ware was the coach. You know, when you're that young and you look at your elders, you think he's 50 years old. He really was 20 years older than we are. He's 91 and doing well. And sorry he couldn't make it tonight, but he was glad to see us, and we had a nice visit. Let me introduce my support group here. Is my remarkable daughter Ann is here, lives in Atlanta. we're staying with my first cousin, Woody Snowden. Woody lives here in Lexington, right off Richmond Road. Woody was director of student development at Sayre for 13 years, and now he teaches history there. Has taught for 15 years at Sayre, right down the street. And his mother and my favorite aunt is 91 years young, in that hot purple there. She lives in Winchester and is doing very well. She's the younger sister of my father, who's still living. He's 1 century old. And I'm going to go see Dad at the end of the month. He's down in Fort Myers, doing well. We're blessed. There's no Alzheimer's, no dementia, and we're glad to have him here. But looking back, I don't want to take too long, but John Mack and I joined 2 other freshmen, Don Manasseh and Jay Hendricks. Dr. Ware, I remember he put a sign on the bulletin board, sign up for the men's tennis team. It was in McAllister Auditorium. I'm sorry to say I'm embarrassed. I haven't been back since. This is a very nice state-of-the-art, the Beck Center. This was McAllister Auditorium, and I think it sat probably, Mike, what did it seat? 3,500 fans probably. Only had bleachers on one side. But we signed up. The 4 of us showed up, and we joined Cleve Gamble, who was a fraternity brother of mine. He was a sophomore. And a third cousin, Van Alford, transferred from Kentucky. So that was our team. We had 4 freshmen and 2 sophomores, and we really remarkably all stayed together. And Dr. Ware said we couldn't beat Center and Bellarmine and some of these teams, but with this team we had, we were able to beat Center and Bellarmine and Berea and Cumberland and all the schools you've heard, Kentucky Wesleyan, Hanover. And we usually played a home and home with all them. Our junior year, 2 of the highlights of these 4 years, the junior year, a lot of times we kind of knew we were playing a match, and we'd all meet at the courts over there. And I remember sometimes we didn't know who we were playing even. It wasn't like we had a big scouting report. And all of a sudden, an hour and a half later, we went north 75. We ended up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we drove up, and I saw Xavier University. All we'd played before were colleges. Center, Bellarmine, Union, Pikeville, they were all colleges, just like Transy was. Xavier, I think, probably had 6,600 students. We had 1,200. Their first 6 players were all on partial scholarships. Of course, Transy, we didn't have scholarships. But, and I remember they had 9 tennis courts lined up, and it looked like about 50. We have 9 together, So we get out there and we play them. We split the singles matches, so it was 3-3. We lost the 2 doubles. We won the 3 doubles. And John Mack and I were playing 1 doubles that day, and we won 6-3 in the 3rd set. So we won 5-4 and beat Xavier. I don't know that that's like David beating Goliath, but it was a pretty good win for Transy. We jumped in the car and went to Dairy Queen like we always did. And Dr. Ware told us today he had a $1,000 budget. And that was for gasoline and away trips and the tennis balls for the home matches. So we played probably played, 15 to 18 matches a year. The other highlight was playing doubles with this guy. We started as a freshman. My 3 fans here can attest. My mother used to go to a lot of the matches, home matches, and she would keep stats and how many errors you made, but she kept up with the record. And I remember at the end of the 4-year career, John and I were actually 50 wins and 5 losses as a doubles team. And you look back, that actually is pretty good, isn't it? The only Hall of Fames I'd ever heard of before were, Cooperstown, New York, and Canton, Ohio, and Springfield, Massachusetts, and St. Augustine, Florida as the golfers. Besides my daughters, anybody know where the International Tennis Hall of Fame is? You get a free drink, free drink. Newport, Rhode Island is correct. That's right. So those are the only Hall of Fames I'd ever heard of, and growing up. But I'm very honored and touched that we're being inducted, and it's great to go in with John. We just happened to all four come together and added the two sophomores, so we had a pretty good run there. Dr. Ware, I didn't realize he retired after he coached 1 year before we came and 4 years we were here, and I said, Dr. Ware, why'd you retire? And he said, well, the cupboard looked like it was a little bare after that, so it made us feel good. But I understand the girls. We got a girl going in tonight, and I wish I could have seen her play, but we certainly enjoyed it. It was 4 courts right there behind Fourier Hall and Jefferson Davis. I don't think they're there anymore, but it's certainly great to be up here and be honored tonight, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. One other thing I'd be remiss to say, this probably wouldn't have happened without the efforts of Mike Toncray to get us in the hall. I think he's worked hard at it behind the scenes, and Skip, we appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
He'd like to get a picture with y'all and get in the report. Do you mind just stepping over here?
Skip, you get in there. Skip. Come on, Skip. Come on. AD.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again to you, Bill and John. Our next inductee tonight is Janet Mattingly, a 1981 graduate of Transylvania University and an outstanding women's basketball and field hockey player during her 4-year career. As a 4-year basketball player, Janet is a member of the 1,000 Point Club with a total of 1,136 points. And keep in mind, this was during a time when the three-point shot did not yet exist. Although the team relied on her heavily to score, she was also given the nightly assignment to guard the opponent's top scorer. Several of Janet's teammates and coaches described Janet as a fierce competitor, team glue, respected on and off the court, coachable, and team player. We know that her coach, Alpha Joe Scott Llewellyn, would love to have been here tonight for this ceremony and to introduce Janet, but due to health reasons, she was unable to attend. Here tonight to introduce Janet is Cynthia Autry. Please join me now in welcoming her to the stage.
Hello, I'm here tonight to introduce one of my oldest and dearest friends. Our friendship started when we were in first grade and has continued to grow through the years. We both grew up in rural western Kentucky on farms. We were two types of pioneers. First, we pioneered the Davis County basketball program. They announced at the beginning of our sophomore year that they were going to start a basketball team. At first, Janet did not want to play, but after much begging, I convinced her to be a part of the team. I was probably there for more of the social part of it than she was, but Janet was very dedicated and became a star. Our coach, Alpha Joe Llewellyn, who is also a member of the Transylvania Hall of Fame, brought us all together to teach us the sport. She wanted to be here today, but as they said, she was ill. She reminded me of Janet's best defenses. It was her pigtails. Janet always wore braided pigtails, and man, could she swing those pigtails. Coach Llewellyn was the one who convinced Janet to continue her success in basketball and suggested she attend Transylvania University and become a pioneer. Janet came to Transy and continued to be a star here on these courts too. She was the second female to reach the 1,000 Point Club during her 4 years. I was here too, not playing basketball, but cheering her on, and I continue to cheer her on today as I introduce Janet Mattingly.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Transylvania. I'm very honored to be in your Hall of Fame. It's wonderful. And you won't have to start playing the loud music to get me off here either, believe it. But I do want to say a little bit about how I got here. Cynthia said a lot of it. It was 1974. We were 10th graders. They were going to start a basketball team at our high school. Well, she didn't tell you the part where if I had made the dance team, I would have been on the Pantherettes instead of playing basketball. But she talked me into it, and thanks again, because it turned out pretty good for me. She mentioned our coach in high school, Coach Alpha Joe Llewellyn. She was a big influence in my life. She taught us how to play basketball. She taught us a lot about life in general. My senior year in high school, I still hadn't chosen a college. My mom and dad were getting worried that I was going to live at home forever. So she said, why don't you go look at Transylvania? That's where I went to school. She graduated in 1960. So I came up here and looked, met Coach Deacon. You know, I guess you all know Coach Pat Deacon. She's not here with us, but I met her. My sister lived in Lexington at the time, so it was a perfect fit. I came to Lexington and loved it. It worked out really good for me. Unfortunately, Miss Llewellyn couldn't come tonight, like Cynthia said, but I'm very honored to be joining her in the Hall of Fame here. So I get to Transy. All right, I'm a freshman. I am on crutches, and as you mentioned for your hall, freshmen are on the 4th floor. So I got over that sprained ankle pretty quick. And Coach Deacon said, you need to come to practice, So I show up at practice. Coach Deacon hands me this hockey stick. I had no idea what it was. I may not have ever even known what field hockey was yet. But turns out if you come to back in the day, if you play basketball for Coach Deacon, you're going to be getting in shape playing field hockey first. So that was how field hockey came about. But it's a great game, and I loved it. That was some of my greatest memories of the field hockey and the basketball teams. Another pretty big memory of basketball was one day Coach Lane was on the sidelines with his big players. At the time, it was maybe Al Grash and Steve Rothling. I'm not real sure who it was, but I was out playing, we were practicing. He was on the sidelines with his big men, and he was telling them to block out like me. So I was like, I had made it now. That was all. I'm a basketball player. That's all I needed. So that was a really good memory for me. I remember we had a teammate, Bevan Pace, that had her dad would drive us in this big fancy Winnebago, or this big RV. So that's how we traveled when we would have away games a lot of the times. And that was, there was all kinds of fun memories when we did that. So that was a big for me. The basketball camps in the summers, that was so much fun. That was working those, and that was a really good time. One of the best memories, I guess, of basketball in general for me is my mom and dad coming to all the games. My dad hardly ever missed a ball game. Rain, shine, snow, he'd drive anywhere. So that was a really big memory for me. That when I think of basketball, I think of him. My nephew, who's here tonight, he came to a lot of those. He was kind of little then. I don't think he remembers me playing basketball. I think he remembers halftime when he got to shoot the hoops. And Brian Lane, I think you were in on that too. Y'all are little guys, so that was fun. But I'm very thankful to everyone here, and I especially want to thank my family and friends for coming and for wanting to be here with me. Carrie was more proud of me than I deserved, I know. She was telling everybody, and then it made me feel so good that people wanted to come share this with me. So, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations once again, Janet. 1994 Transylvania University graduate Chris Huffman is our next inductee. Chris played basketball at Transylvania for Coach Don Lane from 1990 through 1994. He is a member of the 1,000 Point Club. Chris was instrumental in helping the Pioneers all 4 years in achieving 20-win seasons, as well as making it to the NAIA Regional Tournament in 3 of those 4 seasons. Here now to introduce Chris is Coach Don Lane. A Pioneer Hall of Fame member himself, Coach Lane spent 41 years at Transylvania University, making his mark on nearly every student, professor, staff member, and visitor who has passed through the college over the last 4 decades. His name is visible on this very basketball court. Join me in welcoming Coach Don Lane to the stage.
Skip, I was born in 1932, so 33, you missed it by 1 year. I'm really not that old either. Sometimes I feel it, though. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and I appreciate all of you coming and helping us to honor the Pioneer Hall of Fame inductees. It's a very, very, very special Hall of Fame. It's a tremendous honor. And we've had some wonderful people have been inducted. Some great people are going in tonight, and there will be a lot of great ones in the future. But I'm fortunate enough tonight to be able to present to you Chris Huffman, to the Pioneer Athletic Hall of Fame, a 1994 graduate who played for the men's basketball team. He was a graduate of Metcalfe County High School in Center, Kentucky, and I saw him play several times. In fact, I went to see him at the regional tournament, was sitting behind the scores table, and somebody said, somebody's got a gun. Brian was with me, and I said, let's hit the dirt. And then we went under the table, Brian and I did. And but the Chris that night had about 30, so it made me, so we need this guy at Transylvania. He was an all-state player. He played Indiana, Kentucky All-Star Series. Just an outstanding player that we had many of here at Transy, but he's very special. The first Metcalfe County player that I had coached, and it was a pleasure to have him here. When he came in, he played immediately as a freshman, and he played all 4 years. He was one of those consummate players that you get that was a true team leader. He worked with everybody on the team. He wanted to make the team better. Whatever you needed him to do, that's what he did. And I think the analysis that you made, Holly, early about all of our inductees tonight, Chris fit that mold perfectly because he did what you needed him to do. And if you didn't tell him, he would come and ask you, Coach, what do I need to do? And I don't think enough players probably need to do that in today's society. While Chris was here, he played in 111 games. The record we went 22 1 year, 21, 20, and then the last year we won 25 and went to the national tournament in Tulsa. Got knocked out by got beat by 3, and probably one of the worst officiated games in the history of the NAIA tournament. John Mark Stewart got fouled on a 3-point shot. John Mark's arm is now when he was inducted a couple of years ago, he can't extend it any farther than that, probably. But that was one of the big. But it was but of course Chris was on that team, and it helped us get there. In the final 2 games of Chris's career, he went into the 1,000-point club, and that's a very, very special group of people. And if you happen to go online and look at that group, it's phenomenal. The numbers of great players are in that 1,000-point club. As a junior, Chris was our leading scorer and was our most valuable player. And then as he went into his senior year, we were really excited about what was getting ready to happen that year. We thought we had a chance to win it. And not just the Great Lakes region, which we did win that year, but we thought we had a chance to win the whole thing. But Daniel Swintoski had a back surgery. We went out for the year. He's number 2 in the all-time scoring list. Jerome Hoosier, a very promising player, broke his foot. And then one that we didn't expect to happen is Chris Huffman. Is a farm boy. I think he's proud of that, just like I am. And he's went home any weekend he could to help on the farm. If we gave him a day, he went home to help his dad. And he went home the second weekend, I believe, after we had started practice. And I got a call and said, Chris Huffman has been in a car wreck. He's in Bowling Green at the hospital. They had airlifted him from center to he'd gone over to help a neighbor and had hit a tree and had a very serious wreck. At the end of that season, I was looking today through some things, but here's an article that John Clay wrote that still works for the Lexington Herald. Wreck, crushed face, but not the spirit of Transy's Huffman. When I saw Chris, I said, no way that you'll ever play basketball again your senior year. Well, not only that, there were people, the doctors are saying he would never play again because he'd broken every bone in his face below his eyes, his nose, his jaw, his cheekbones. He'd really had very severe injuries. And I went to see him immediately, and he said, Coach, I'm going to play. I said, well, we'll talk about that. We'll get you well. And I was there with him for a few minutes, and I left and came home, and I told Coach Whitson, I said, we'll have to try to figure this thing out because I'm not sure he'll be with us this year to play. And, well, as it turns out, we had about 4 or 5 doctors saying the same thing, but he had one doctor that told him there's a chance maybe you could play again, not thinking it'd be this year. Chris came back to school. He missed about 3 weeks. And Chris was a fabulous student, so it wasn't a problem for him to catch up. And he looked at me and he said, Coach, I will play. I will be ready to play by the tip-off tournament. Now, in those days, it traditionally had been the tip-off tournament was the first weekend in December. And when Chris went in the game, the first night of the tip-off tournament, that McAllister Auditorium exploded. He was a dearly loved player. They loved him very much. The crowd loved him, the students did, and everybody appreciated the effort of a guy that was your MVP before, just trying to get back to help the team. And that's the thing that Chris did. He never looked for accolades. He wanted to make sure the team won. And we had some phenomenal teams while he was here and a part of it. His recovery was unbelievable. By the end of the year, he had 17 and 10, I think, in the final 2 games of the Great Lakes region that got us into the national tournament to go to Tulsa. We had some great kids on that team, and one of those is Paul Lalonde that's here, was his teammate tonight. Paul had a great year that year and was very instrumental in helping pick up slack to be able to make it happen. That's a thing that all of us coaches preach, and if they don't, they should be. Somebody, when something happens, somebody be ready to pick up the slack. Well, we had people that picked up slack, but I never expected Chris to come back and help us pick it up. but he did. He came back. We had that phenomenal year. Chris had a phenomenal career here at Transylvania. I'm very, very proud of what he's done, not only while he was at Transy, but since he's been away or left and graduated. A lot of you appreciate this, I think. He told me when I said, Chris, I really would like for you to redshirt. Because I thought he could have a fabulous year if he redshirted. He said, Coach, I want to graduate with my guys I came in with. I'm going to. And he did. And he also wore plastic mask over his face in every game. And but he still played and helped us so much that year. But since then, he went back to Metcalfe County and has spent his whole life helping people, students, young people of Metcalfe County as a coach, as a teacher, in every position but superintendent. And I've begged him to be the superintendent, but he keeps telling me he's not going to do that one. I give you Chris Huffman. Chris.
Thanks, Coach Lane, and thanks to Transylvania for this honor. As Coach Lane said, teamwork was something that was instilled in me when I was young, but when I got to Transylvania, I didn't really have a choice. I was a slow white kid that couldn't create my shot. So I played with Paul Lalonde, Brett Eads, Robbie Fulks, John Mark Stewart. Those guys, they deserve part of this award because that 1,000 points up there is because they gave me the basketball. They put me in a position to where I could shoot the ball. Because when you're 6'5" or something and you're not real fast, you got to depend on other people to get you a shot. So I appreciate and thank the likes of Paul and as the lady before me, I can't really sit here and tell you about Transylvania and what we did right here because it's not permissible to talk about it in this area. Paul has already threatened me that I can't talk about things that went on at Transy while I was up here, but I will introduce my family. Coach got me a little bit there. I haven't thought about 1993 in that car wreck for many years, but my wife Amber, my two boys Colton and Cade, my sister Leslie, who graduated from Transy in '96, her husband Johnny, my niece Cassidy, and my mom Carolyn. Now, I have no earthly idea, after coming up here tonight, my mom rode with Amber and the boys and I have no idea how my dad and her got here, ever. They never missed a game. My dad, for those of you that were in the crowd when I played, Dad wore a cowboy hat. He sat on the top row of McAllister, and that's where he wanted to sit the entire time. But all the way up here, Mom would say, "You need to slow down. You need to slow down." So I have no clue how they ever got to a game on time or what Daddy went through driving all the way up here back and forth. So, but I do appreciate what they done. And Coach Lane, thank you first for that speech, but second for taking a chance. And, you know, you can't, when you were at Transy in those years, there was no way to go wrong as an individual or as a student athlete. You had Don Lane. You had Ron Whitson, you had Al Pruitt, you had Pat Deacon, you had Jack Ebel, you had Mark Turner. You had all those people watching you and helping you and there for you. So there was no way, nothing against the administration that's here now, because I'm sure you're the same way that those people were to us as players. So it was a privilege to play here. Still bring my boys back. They don't understand the concept of McAllister Auditorium. I try to tell them kind of sort of what it was like and showed them pictures that Mom had. And, you know, we were a 20-point favorite before the game ever started in that gym. In this gym, it's a little bit more difficult. But I do appreciate the award. I appreciate my family being here tonight. And I thank the former players that I played with to help me achieve this. Alissa, I'm sorry. Paul sent me an email earlier. He came tonight for me, not for you. I mean, I don't. He had another engagement, but since he saw me, he said he was coming for me. So, but I appreciate Paul and what those guys did while I played here, because for me it was easy to do what I did because they got me the basketball. So thank you again.
Congratulations, Chris, on your inspiring career. Our fourth and final inductee tonight is Alissa Richardson Lalonde. A class of 1996 graduate, Alissa was a star player for the Pioneers. Amongst her accomplishments during her time at Transylvania included NAIA Regional Singles Champion, multiple NAIA All-District Awards, and Female Pioneer Athlete of the Year to round up her career in 1996. Additionally, she received from the NAIA the A.O. Dewar Award for the Great Lakes region based upon scholarship, character, and athletic achievement. Here to introduce Alissa is her father and tennis professional, Cliff Richardson. Cliff taught and coached swimming, soccer, and tennis at Atherton High School in Louisville and was inducted into their Hall of Fame in 2013. Please join me in welcoming Cliff to the stage.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here tonight. Coach Evo could not attend, and I'm so excited to introduce my daughter, Alissa. First of all, I want to say that I love Alissa. She is compassionate, considerate, courteous, practical, reliable, sincere, and unassuming. All these characteristics she got from her mom. I just taught her to play tennis. You know, when I was trying to come up with a way to introduce Alissa tonight, I thought I would role play. Now, we've all role played one time in our life. Tonight, I'm going to role play Alissa and myself. Go back with me, if you will, several years when Alissa was 13, 14. She's coming to her tennis lesson, the club where I worked at the time, and she's walking on the court. How you doing, Alissa? Fine, Dad. You ready for your lesson? Yeah. Okay, today we're going to work on hitting the ball deep. The reason we want to hit the ball deep or beyond the service line is to keep our opponent back so you can dictate the point. Okay, Dad. See, she walks back to the baseline. I go back to my ball hopper. So we start hitting the ball. Pat, pat, pat. Move your feet, Alissa. Come on. You got to get there before you hit the ball. Move your feet. Come on, Alissa. Get your racket back. Run with your racket back if you have to. Finally, all of a sudden, she lets the ball go to the back fence. Here she comes walking toward the net. She stops. She looks at me. She goes, Dad, say something different. I said, what do you mean? She said, quit saying move your feet. And I said, well, you know, tennis starts at your feet, and you're not moving your feet. And she said, well, don't say that anymore. Okay. So she turns around and walks back to the baseline. I turn, walk back to my ball hopper, and I'm thinking, okay, it's 90 degrees out here today. It's about 80% humidity. I've been on the court 6 hours. I taught psychology. I know what I'll do. I won't say anything to her. And we'll get through this 30-minute lesson. It'll be great. So I'll go back to my ball hopper. We start hitting the ball again. Whap, whap, back and forth. Everything's, oh, man, she's hitting it deep, top spin. The ball's exploding off the court. 10 minutes into the lesson again, she lets the ball go to the back fence. Here she comes, walking toward the net. I'm thinking, uh-oh, you know. She gets up about mid-court and says, Dad. Yeah, Alissa. Are you my coach? Yes. Then tell me when I'm doing wrong. So that's Alissa's academic background. I mean, her athletic background. As far as her academic background, she went to Ballard High School, and at Ballard, she never got a B. In 4 years, she had all A's. So she graduated with a 4.0. Now, this is probably, I probably shouldn't say this, but I graduated with a 4.0. I went to DuPont Manual High School. I had a 1.0 my freshman year, a 1.0 my sophomore year, and 1.0 my junior and senior year. But she did. She had a 4.0 when she graduated from Ballard. And if she had a project to do, she would stay up as long as it took. I mean, if she had to stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning, she would do it, even though she had to get up at 6 or 7. The only problem with that is a lot of times we were all up. But she would get it done, and she would hand it in and always get an A. So that's the academic side of my daughter, Alissa. A couple of days ago, Jack Ebel, her coach at Transy, sent her an email, and she sent it to me. And in closing, I'd like to read it to you. It said, Alissa, congratulations on your selection to the Pioneer Hall of Fame. What an honor, and one that is well deserved. Kevin Calhoun said that you pretty much had your way with Georgetown while he was a player there. I told him you did the same to most schools. One of your best attributes was your great tennis sense, the right shot for the right moment, along with a dogged determination to win. I will not be attending the ceremony, but will be thinking of you on that Saturday night. I have many fond memories of you and the other tennis players. It was very special getting to know you and so many of the other great tennis players. I give to you, Alissa.
Dad, thank you for the sweet introduction. This is such a special night, and I feel blessed and honored to be here to accept this award. I also want to congratulate the other inductees who are here tonight. It's an honor to be going into the Hall of Fame with such an outstanding group. First, I just want to thank God for all the glory goes to Him. I have so many people to thank. Dad, you coached me from the time I was 6 years old until I went to college. Thank you for the countless hours you spent with me, teaching me technique, strategy, ball placement, how to put different spins on the ball, shot choice, and simply feeding me ball after ball after ball until I got it right. You were patient, well, most of the time. And I wasn't always the most enjoyable person to coach. Now that I'm a parent teaching my own children how to play the game, I appreciate even more the time and energy you spent with me. I share this honor with you. Mom, you are my biggest fan and supporter and encourager. You've always believed in me. You have no idea how many times I've heard your voice in my head on and off the tennis court. Thank you. Believe me, I know the huge part you played in my success, including keeping Dad and I from killing each other. And as a mom, I realize now the sacrifices you made for me, and I'm so grateful. Ashley and Abby, thank you guys for challenging me and pushing me. I didn't want to lose to you, and you made that very difficult. You made me a better player, and it hasn't stopped there. You make me a better sister, a better parent, and better person. Thanks for being my best friends. I also want to thank Coach Jack Ebel. He recruited me to Transylvania, and the 4 years I played tennis under his leadership were some of the best years of my life. He was a mentor, encourager, motivator, supporter, and friend to me. He cared deeply for the players on his team, and I can't thank him enough for his guidance and compassion that he showed me and my teammates. Of course, my teammates were a huge part of my success. I have great memories of team bus trips to play other colleges, spring breaks spent playing with the team on Hilton Head Island, and time developing meaningful friendships with the other girls on the team. I will always cherish those times. To the university, not only did Transylvania give me a great education and foundation for life, I also met my husband, Paul, here. Well, I try not to hold that against Transy. Sometimes it's difficult. I'm kidding. Paul, I met you when I was a freshman, so you are a huge part of all of this. And I have you to thank as well. You supported me throughout my time at Transy, watching my matches, practicing with me, and cheering me on. It seems like just yesterday we were playing on the campus courts. Thank you for being a great husband and friend. Because of Transylvania, I had the opportunity to play collegiate tennis. I met my husband of 16 years. I have 2 great children, Brooke and Ben, who are here tonight, a wonderful extended family, and great friends. For this, I am most grateful. Thank you again for this award. I'm humbled and honored.
Congratulations, Alissa. We thank everyone tonight for joining us this evening as we welcome these inductees into the Pioneer Hall of Fame. We would ask, as things wrap up tonight, that the inductees and the presenters report to the stage at the conclusion for a few pictures. We hope for everyone out there that you're able to come to one of our over 100 home contests this year and cheer on our over 400 Pioneer student athletes. You can also catch all of that live action on transysports.com. Thanks for coming to join us tonight. Drive home safe, and we thank you for your support.